Hi everyone, I'm Sandy from Scissors in the City. I'm going to be making a scrapbook layout. The product I use for this is Echo Park's In Full Bloom. I used the sticker sheet and several papers, some ephemera, some twine, and I did use some placement for my photos using just white cardstock. The tools you need to complete the page will be a trimmer, wet and dry adhesive, dimensionals, scissors, and a distress tool. Okay. To begin, I'm going to cut my cardstock to be my photo mats. And this is 6 inches wide, so we're going to cut that at 4 inches. And then turn it and cut it at 3. So I have my 2 little ones. And then I need to trim this to 5 by 7. So we'll do 5. And now we're cut it at 7. So those are cut, and I'll set them aside. Then let's take our green paper, our 4x4 journaling cards, and this needs to be, because this is a 5 by 7, we're going to trim it, and I want about a 1/2 inch border around my large mat, or my large photo. So we're going to cut that at 8. And this piece is extra. And then take our multi-journaling cards. And if you turn that over, we're going to need sunshine out of here, and we need this piece. So first, I'll go ahead and trim off the ID strip. I'm going to cut this piece off. This is the section that's going to go right there. So set that one aside. And we're going to trim this because we need this word, and this. Sorry. But I trim it so if I want to use those pieces on something else, I'm still able to do that. This is extra, so it can go aside. And the bloom is extra. I'll put that aside. Now I want to trim sunshine close to the word. And then this pretty much probably is trash. Spin it around. Because I have trouble cutting a straight line, or I guess I can cut the straight line, but it's not always square to what I want it to be. So I use my trimmer to trim right before and after the word. So I have sunshine. And then I need this piece. And this one is cut in half, using half of it on that side and half of it on this side. So this is 6 inches, so let's trim it at 3. Then our blue stripe piece, the butterflies and flowers, all we have to do to this one is cut off the ID strip. And we can set our trimmer aside. I believe we're done with that. Now these two pieces I want to distress. So I'm going to use my distress tool. However, first I'm going to flip it over, and because I want it a little bit uneven, my distress tool will distress the edge, but it will just keep it straight, and I wanted it uneven, so I'm going to rip it towards me because I did not want to see the white edge. So for me, it's easier to rip it towards me, so I just flip my paper over. And then take your distress tool, and you got one of these in your goodie bag. So just run that along the edge of your paper. This just gives your layout a little texture, a little interest. And then we're going to do the same thing to our pink paper. Again, I'm going to flip it over and rip it. And I turn it the right way, and using my distress tool, I will rough up the edge. Get all those little frayed pieces off my paper. Okay, and let's take our photo mat, and we're going to adhere it to our green. And I tried to center it right and left and top and bottom. You won't have the same size border all the way around. And let's go ahead and adhere the pink to our blue. And it is 2.5 inches from the bottom of the paper. Now I didn't go all the way to the edge. I did 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, pretty much on like the 7th stripe. So 2.5 from the bottom, 1, 2.5, and the 7th stripe. And then my mat has 1/4 inch markings, so I can use that to keep it level. Okay. Then obviously I'm going to trim this excess off. Then I'm going to adhere this, but I'm not going to put the adhesive right on the edge because I want to tuck these two just slightly under. So I'm going to place the green paper using the stripe as my vertical line to line up on, and about that much. And I'm going to place that down. Then I'll take my little flowers. Now this one has some up and down, so I want to make sure I go up. And let me see. That is about 1, 2, 3, 4, 4.5 to the bottom. One, 2, 3, 4.5. And I'm going to just slide that in right there. Okay. And then I'm going to do the same on the other side. This one I'm going to grab my ruler so I can get it straight. Oh, and I didn't put my paper straight vertically. Come on, back off. I like that. All right, let's begin to decorate. So let's start with this top corner. over here, and these items you're going to find on your sticker sheet. And I use these banners, the yellow, green, and the multi-flower. And I did pop these up with some thin dimensionals. So the green one is on the third stripe. Just like that. Well, helps if I take off the back of the dimensional. They tend to stick better that way. And then I put the flowered one in the middle, and I just left just an ever so slightly gap between the two. And then the yellow one. And then it says Celebrate Spring, and that's found down here. Whoa, this one's down too low. That's better. And then I put Celebrate String just hanging off the left edge. I did not pop that up. And then I need my blue butterfly, which is right here. And then that I put on with a regular thickness of a dimensional. And that's just kind of like so. Oops. I do want to still see the word though. There we go. Okay. Then right here, you'll find this one, this sentiment. But most of it's going to be hidden, so I'm just going to snip off a section. The flowers is all I need. I'll put the other part back just in case I want to use it later. And that goes right there. Next, we'll work on this corner. So I need my two photo mats. And they are just placed at kind of an angle, like that. And this one's just ever so slightly into the green. And then you, in your kit, you will have one of these three. So let's do the green one. And we're going to pop that up. And it's going to be placed like that, covering the corners. And we're going to go back and find some stickers. There's use this one. And a little blue flower. There's two, well, there might even be more. There's even 3 blue flowers. I used the largest one. And then this little sprig of flowers, which is up here. Oh, I must have peeled off the packing and not go down to, no, that's fine. This one, the sticker part still stayed on there, but that's okay. We don't need the sticker part, so so I'm going to place that, oh, like that. I want to see, well, I need to do a dimensional underneath it though. Like that. And I'm going to slide the blue flower in on top. That does not have a dimensional. And then I got my little sprig. I've got some little dimensionals that I put on the back of him. I still would have had to put a dimensional on him because he's high. You don't want him all the way flat, so. And then I just tucked the sprig in. This one I think I'm going to go in about like so. Okay. So now we have this top section. And you may have a different tag. So because I got the green there, I'm going to use this one. You only get one in your kit. We're going to have that. We need our Simply we get our sunshine. And for sunshine, I use this. And I'm going to trim it about like that. So I need the scalloped and then the straight green stripe. And I'm going to place the scallop just over the green stripe. Just lightly. And now that they're both on there, that looks good. Okay, so this goes flat on your paper, starting about like that. And just about green to green. Then I have my sunshine, and I used dimensionals on that. And I place that on my sunshine. Then take your tag, and that's going to slide in right about like that. And then I need my sun, which covers up the corner. And Simply Spring. And then the cluster of flowers in the envelope, just right here. And let's put a thin dimensional on the back of that. I think I'll go over that corner. Like that. And I need my twine. And I fold it in half. And then cut it. So I have 2 lengths. Then I tied a bow. And then these tails are a little too long, so we'll snip them. And then just with a dot of glue, place it right there. So again, your tag may be different. You may get this tag, or a different stripe tag, or the green tag. And then also your word down here may be different. So that completes page 1.